You know, there's this one book in the Bible that doesn't quite read like the rest of them. No miracles, no dramatic battles, no prophecies about the end of the world. Just one man widely believed to be King Solomon, the wisest person who ever lived, sitting down and asking a question that still hits hard thousands of years later. What is the point of any of this? That book is Ecclesiastes, and honestly, it might be the most relevant piece of ancient wisdom you'll ever read. Because Solomon didn't write this as someone who had been sheltered from life. He wrote it as someone who had tried everything: wealth, power, pleasure, knowledge, great projects, and came out the other side saying, yeah, none of that was it. None of that was the thing. And yet, buried inside what feels like a very honest, sometimes heavy meditation on life, there are these extraordinary lessons. Timeless truths that don't just belong to a religious text, they belong to anyone trying to figure out how to live well. So today, we're going to walk through 25 of those lessons together. And I promise you, by the end of this, you're going to be thinking about your life a little differently. Let's get into it. The very first lesson comes from Ecclesiastes 3:1, and it simply says, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." Now, we've all heard this before, maybe on a greeting card or at a graduation speech. But let's actually sit with what it means. There is a time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to uproot. A time to grieve, and a time to dance. What Solomon is describing here is not fatalism, it's rhythm. Life has a rhythm. And one of the most exhausting things human beings do is fight that rhythm. We want the harvest before we've done the planting. We want the joy before we've processed the grief. We want the reward before we've put in the season of work. When you understand that everything has its right time, something shifts in you. You stop white-knuckling every outcome. You start trusting the process, not because you're passive, but because you recognize that forcing things out of season usually just breaks them. And from an ethical standpoint, this lesson also teaches patience with other people. Not everyone is in the same season you are. Some people are planting. Some people are grieving. Some people are just trying to survive their winter. Wisdom is knowing how to meet people where they are. The second lesson comes from Ecclesiastes 11:6, "Sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed." This one is pure practical wisdom. You don't always know which of your efforts is going to pay off. So you keep going. You do the work in the morning. You do the work in the evening, not out of anxiety, but out of faithful diligence. The farmers in Solomon's day understood something that we in the modern world are slowly relearning, that consistency beats brilliance almost every single time. You don't need a perfect strategy. You need to show up and sow. And here's the ethical layer. This lesson is also a call to humility about outcomes. Because if you genuinely don't know which seed will grow, then you can't take all the credit when something succeeds, and you shouldn't carry all the shame when something doesn't. You do your part. You trust God or the universe, or however you frame that with the results. Lesson 3 is one that a lot of people need to hear, especially when life feels deeply unfair. Ecclesiastes 3:17. God will bring into judgment both the righteous and the wicked, for there will be a time for every activity, a time to judge every deed. Here's the honest truth. Life is not always just. Good people suffer. Bad people sometimes thrive. Systems fail. Institutions fail. People fail. Solomon lived in a world where that was just as true as it is today. And rather than pretending otherwise, he acknowledged it and then pointed to something bigger. There is a final accounting, not in the sense of fire and brimstone to scare people into compliance, but in the sense that nothing is invisible. Every choice, every action, every moment of cruelty or kindness, it all matters. And there is a moral fabric to the universe that ultimately holds. For those of us trying to live ethically in a world that doesn't always reward it, this is actually deeply stabilizing. You don't have to play dirty just because other people do. You don't have to compromise your integrity to win. You can stay faithful, stay honest, stay kind, and trust that the ledger balances in ways you may not be able to see right now. Lesson 4. Wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the advantage of knowledge is this wisdom preserves the life of its possessor. Ecclesiastes 7:12. Both wisdom and money offer protection, Solomon says, but they're not equal. Money can get you out of a tough situation. Wisdom helps you avoid the tough situation in the first place. Wisdom helps you read people. It helps you make decisions that compound positively over time. It helps you see around corners. And unlike money, wisdom isn't something that can be stolen or inflated away. This is why the investment in learning real learning, not just information consumption, but the kind of reflection that changes how you see, is one of the most ethical and practical things you can do with your life. Not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. Wise people tend to create environments where others flourish too. Fifth lesson, and this one is quietly radical. There is no one on earth who is righteous, no one who does what is right and never sins. Ecclesiastes 7:20. In a world of hot takes and public call-outs, where everyone seems very confident about who the villains are, this verse is a cold shower. Nobody is perfectly righteous. Not you, not me, not the people we admire, not the people we disagree with. And the practical application of this is enormous. It means we lead with grace, not judgment. It means we hold our moral certainty a little more loosely. It means we stay open to being wrong. It does not mean there is no such thing as right and wrong. It means that no human being is the perfect arbiter of it. Lesson 6 comes from Ecclesiastes 8:7. Since no one knows the future, who can tell someone else what is to come? The future is unknowable. We can plan. We can strategize. We can use every tool available to forecast and prepare. But at the end of the day, none of us knows what tomorrow holds. And here's what's interesting, rather than this being a source of anxiety, Solomon seems to present it as an invitation to release control. When you really accept that you don't control the future, something lightens. The obsessive planning, the catastrophizing, the need to have every variable accounted for it starts to loosen its grip. You do your best today. You make wise decisions. And then you hold the outcome with open hands. Lesson 7. The wise heart knows the proper time and procedure. Ecclesiastes 8:5. Knowing what to do is one kind of wisdom. Knowing when to do it is another. And often, it's the second kind that separates truly wise people from merely intelligent ones. There's a right time to have a hard conversation, and a wrong time. A right time to take a risk, and a time to hold steady. A right time to speak boldly, and a time to stay quiet. Developing that sense of timing requires self-awareness, patience, and the willingness to slow down when everything in you wants to rush. Lesson 8, and we'll close part 1 here. Whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. Ecclesiastes 9:10. After death, there is no more doing. There's no more creating, building, learning, loving. So now, right now is the time. This isn't a call to burnout or workaholism. It's a call to presence, to bring your full self to what is in front of you, to stop half-doing things, to stop going through the motions. Excellence is not just a professional standard, it's a spiritual one. because how you do anything is how you do everything. All right, let's keep going. We left off at Lesson 8, and if you've been following along, you're already starting to see the pattern in what Solomon is doing here. He's not giving us a feel-good self-help framework. He's giving us a brutally honest, deeply human map of what it looks like to live wisely in a world that is unpredictable, sometimes unjust, and always moving faster than we'd like. So let's pick it back up with Lesson 9. From Ecclesiastes 9:11, "The race is not to the swift, or the battle to the strong. Nor does food come to the wise, or wealth to the brilliant, or favor to the learned. But time and chance happen to them all." This one stops a lot of people in their tracks the first time they really hear it. Because we live in a culture that is absolutely obsessed with the idea that if you just work hard enough, optimize enough, hustle enough, you will win. And look, effort matters. Preparation matters. Skill matters. Solomon is not saying none of that counts. What he is saying is that it doesn't guarantee anything. Sometimes the most qualified person doesn't get the job. Sometimes the most talented team loses the game. Sometimes the most carefully laid plan falls apart because of one variable nobody saw coming. And the person who can hold that truth without becoming either reckless or paralyzed, that is someone operating with real wisdom. From an ethical standpoint, this lesson also quietly dismantles something toxic in our culture: the idea that people who are struggling simply didn't try hard enough. Time and chance happen to everyone. Privilege, circumstance, timing. These are real forces. Wisdom acknowledges that. 10th lesson, and this one is short but stings a little. As dead flies give perfume a bad smell, so a little folly outweighs wisdom and honor. Ecclesiastes 10:1. One dead fly ruins the whole jar of perfume. One moment of foolishness can undo years of a careful reputation building. We've all seen this play out. Someone who spent decades building trust, credibility, integrity, and then one careless decision, one moment of arrogance, one lapse in judgment, and the whole thing unravels. This is not about living in fear of making mistakes. It's about taking seriously the reality that character is cumulative, and damage is often disproportionate to the offense. Small compromises matter. Small, careless words matter. The way you treat people when no one important is watching, that matters enormously. Guard the small things, because the small things are usually where integrity either holds or breaks. Lesson 11. If the axe is dull and its edge unsharpened, more strength is needed, but skill will bring success. Ecclesiastes 10:10. You know the phrase, sharpen the saw. Stop and prepare before you act. Don't just push harder when things aren't working. Step back. Reflect. Get smarter about your approach. This is one of the most practically underrated lessons in the entire book. So many people are grinding themselves into exhaustion not because they lack effort, but because they never stop to ask whether they're using the right tool in the right way. Wisdom is the sharpening. Reading, mentorship, reflection, prayer, honest feedback, these are the things that make your effort actually efficient. And the ethical dimension here is about stewardship. You have been given a life, a set of gifts, a limited amount of energy. Using them wisely, not just working hard, but working smart, is a form of respect for what you've been given. Lesson 12. Whoever digs a pit may fall into it. Whoever breaks through a wall may be bitten by a snake. Ecclesiastes 10:8. There is a certain poetic justice baked into the structure of reality. The traps we set for others have a way of catching us. The walls we break through without care have a way of biting back. In a purely practical sense, this is about unintended consequences. Reckless action, a special action motivated by wanting to harm or outmaneuver someone else, tends to backfire. But there's a deeper ethical truth here too. When you scheme against others, when you operate with hidden agendas and manipulative intentions, you are also shaping yourself into a person who lives in that energy and that environment. That mindset, it doesn't stay contained to the people you're targeting. It starts to infect everything. Play honest. Build honestly. Because the alternative costs more than it looks like on the surface. Lesson 13. Ship your grain across the sea. After many days, you may receive a return. Ecclesiastes 11:1. This is one of my favorite images in the whole book. Send your bread out on the water. In other words, be generous. Take risks with your resources. Invest in things you can't immediately see the return on. Solomon is talking about a kind of cherubim, forward-thinking confidence. The person who hoards everything out of fear never gains anything beyond what they already have. But the person who gives, who invests, who sends their grain out into the unknown, they create the possibility of return that the hoarder never will. And this connects beautifully to how communities and relationships actually work. Generosity creates circulation. It builds trust. It opens doors. The people who are genuinely known for being generous with their time, their knowledge, their resources, they tend to find that the world meets them with generosity in return. Not always immediately, sometimes after many days, but it comes. Lesson 14. Do not be quickly provoked in your spirit, for anger resides in the lap of fools. Ecclesiastes 7:9. Reactive anger. We know what it looks like. Someone says something, and before any actual thought has happened, you're already in full defensive mode saying things you'll regret. Making decisions fueled by heat rather than light. Solomon is not saying don't feel anger. Anger is sometimes entirely appropriate. What he's saying is don't let it drive. Don't let the emotion arrive and immediately take the wheel. The fool is the one who is quickly provoked, who has no buffer between stimulus and response. Wisdom creates that buffer. And this is one of the most important practical ethics lessons in the entire book, because almost every relationship rupture, every unnecessary conflict, every decision that someone looks back on with regret, it traces back to a moment where they let reactive anger do the talking. Slow down. Breathe. Let the emotion inform you without controlling you. Lesson 15. The quiet words of the wise are more to be heeded than the shouts of a ruler of fools. Ecclesiastes 9:17. Loudness is not the same as authority. Volume is not the same as wisdom. We live in a media environment that constantly rewards the loudest voice, the most outrageous take, the most provocative statement. And Solomon, writing thousands of years ago, already knew this was a trap. The people worth listening to are often the quietest ones in the room, the ones who don't need to perform their intelligence, the ones who speak when they have something worth saying, and stay silent when they don't. If you want to grow in wisdom, one of the best habits you can build is to deliberately seek out the quiet voices, the mentors who aren't famous, the books that don't make bestseller lists, the colleagues who never seem to be the loudest in the meeting, but who, when they do speak, always seem to cut right to the heart of things. Lesson 16. God gives wealth and possessions and the ability to enjoy them, to accept their lot, and be happy in their toil. This is a gift of God. Ecclesiastes 5:19. Here's something Solomon understood that a lot of prosperity theology gets completely backwards. It's not just about having things. It's about having the capacity to enjoy them. Because here's what you see all the time: people who accumulate enormous wealth and can't enjoy a single moment of it. They're always anxious, always reaching for the next level, always convinced that what they have right now isn't enough. the ability to be present with what you have, to eat a meal and actually taste it, to finish a week of work and actually rest. That capacity, Solomon says, is a gift from God. You can't manufacture it through more achievement. You receive it through gratitude, through intentionality, through choosing to be here rather than always chasing there. And lesson 17, to close out this section. A feast is made for laughter. Wine makes life merry. And money is the answer for everything. Ecclesiastes 10:19. Now this sounds, on the surface, like Solomon is endorsing materialism. But read it in context. He's being descriptive, not prescriptive. Money is useful. It solves real problems. It buys food. It pays for medicine. It provides shelter. Pretending money doesn't matter is not wisdom. It's naivety. The wisdom is in knowing what money can do and what it cannot do. It can solve material problems. It cannot buy peace. It cannot manufacture meaning. It cannot replace integrity. Use it well. Respect its utility. Just don't worship it. Because the moment money becomes your source of security rather than a tool in your hands, it starts to own you rather than the other way around. We're in the home stretch now. And I want to say something before we get into these final lessons, because I think it's important context for everything we're about to cover. One of the things that makes Ecclesiastes so unusual, so enduringly powerful, is that it doesn't flinch. Solomon doesn't give you a sanitized version of life where everything works out if you just believe hard enough. He gives you the full picture, the injustice, the uncertainty, the grief, the mystery, and then he shows you how to stand in the middle of all of that with wisdom, with integrity, with a kind of grounded peace that doesn't depend on everything going your way. That's what these final lessons are really about. So let's get into it. Lesson 18, from Ecclesiastes 11:4. Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. This is one of the most quietly convicting verses in the entire book, because it's describing something we all do. We wait for the perfect conditions. We tell ourselves we'll start when the timing is better, when we feel more ready, when the market is more stable, when the kids are older, when we have more energy, when the circumstances finally line up the way we think they need to. And what Solomon is saying plainly, almost bluntly, is that if you wait for the wind to stop and the clouds to clear, you will never plant anything. You will never reap anything. The harvest only comes to the people who sow despite the uncertainty. Not because they're reckless, but because they've accepted that perfect conditions are a myth. Faith is not waiting for a cloudless sky. Faith is planting in the rain and trusting that something will grow. From a practical standpoint, think about the things in your own life that you've been waiting to start. The project, the conversation, the change, the commitment. What are you watching the wind for? What clouds are you waiting to pass? Because the lesson here is not that preparation doesn't matter, it's that preparation can become an excuse. At some point, you have to sow. Lesson 19. It is better to heed the rebuke of a wise person than to listen to the song of fools. Ecclesiastes 7:5. We live in an age of validation. Social media is essentially an engine designed to give you more of what makes you feel good about yourself, more likes, more affirmations, more people nodding along. And Solomon, thousands of years before any of that existed, already understood the danger of that dynamic. The Song of Fools feels amazing. It tells you you're right, you're brilliant, your instincts are perfect. Anyone who disagrees is just a hater, and it does absolutely nothing to help you grow. A wise rebuke, on the other hand, that stings. It's uncomfortable. It requires you to sit with the possibility that you were wrong, that you missed something, that you need to change, but that discomfort is exactly where growth lives. One of the most important things you can do in your life practically and ethically is to build relationships with people who will tell you the truth, not cruelly, not to tear you down, but honestly. Mentors, friends, partners who care enough about you to say the hard thing when the hard thing needs to be said. Those relationships are rare, and they are worth more than any amount of flattery. Lesson 20. The end of a matter is better than its beginning, and patience is better than pride. Ecclesiastes 7:8. Starting is exciting. There's energy in the beginning of things, new projects, new relationships, new seasons of life. Everyone loves a launch. But Solomon says the end is better. And I think what he means is that finishing, truly finishing, with integrity and perseverance intact is the real measure of a person. Pride rushes. Pride wants the credit before the work is done. Pride announces the vision before the foundation is laid. Patience does the unglamorous middle. Patience shows up when the excitement has worn off and the novelty is gone, and there's just the work day after day, brick by brick. And here's the ethical dimension. The people who consistently finish what they start, who follow through on their commitments, who see things through to the end, even when it gets hard, those are the people others learn to trust. Trust is built not in the exciting beginning, but in the patient, faithful middles and the hard-won endings. Don't just start well, finish well. Lesson 21. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good. Ecclesiastes 9:18. A single wise person can save an entire city, and a single fool, one person acting selfishly, recklessly, destructively, can unravel what took many people years to build. This is a lesson about the asymmetry of impact. Wisdom builds slowly, carefully, collaboratively, but destruction can be fast and singular. And this is why the ethics of wisdom are not just personal, they're communal. Your choices don't only affect you, the integrity you carry into your workplace, your family, your community, it contributes to something larger than yourself. And so does your folly. One person who consistently sows discord, spreads misinformation, or operates without ethics can do enormous damage to a group, an organization, or a community. Choose to be the wise person who protects and builds, not because it's always rewarded, but because it is the right way to live. Lesson 22. And this is an important one. There is something else meaningless that occurs on earth: the righteous who get what the wicked deserve, and the wicked who get what the righteous deserve. Ecclesiastes 8:14. Solomon is staring directly at one of the oldest sources of human disillusionment, the apparent randomness of moral outcomes, and he is not looking away. Good people suffer. Wicked people prosper. Faithful people lose everything. Corrupt people flourish. If you've lived long enough, you've seen this. You may have experienced it personally. And the temptation, when you see this long enough, is to conclude one of two things. Either God doesn't exist, or faithfulness doesn't matter. Solomon refuses both conclusions. Instead, he holds the tension: yes, this is real. Yes, it is painful. Yes, it is genuinely vanity to try and make it make sense by human logic alone. But the ledger is not closed yet. Living ethically is not a transaction where good behavior purchases guaranteed outcomes. It is a way of being that is worth choosing regardless of the immediate return. Because integrity is not a strategy, it's a character. Lesson 23. Do not say, "Why were the old days better than these?" For it is not wise to ask such questions. Ecclesiastes 7:10. Nostalgia is seductive. The past always looks better in memory than it was in reality, because memory edits out the difficulty and keeps the warmth. And there's nothing wrong with honoring the past, learning from it, appreciating it, but living in it, comparing every present moment unfavorably to some idealized version of how things used to be, that is, as Solomon says, unwise. God is not only in the past. God is not only in the golden era you remember or imagine. He is at work right now, in this season, in these circumstances, through these challenges. And the person who is always looking backward misses what is being built forward. This is also a call to resist the cultural tendency, and it's very strong right now, to frame everything as decline, everything as worse, every new development as a threat. Some of that instinct is healthy discernment, but when it becomes a posture, it closes you off to the new things God may be doing, the new people He's bringing, the new growth that is only possible in this moment, not in the recreated past. Lesson 24. It is better to go to a house of mourning than to go to a house of feasting. For death is the destiny of everyone. The living should take this to heart. Ecclesiastes 7:2. This is not Solomon being morbid for the sake of it. This is one of the most practically important lessons in the book. When you sit with grief, yours or someone else's something in you reorients. The trivial stops feeling so urgent. The things you've been procrastinating on, the apology you owe, the relationship you've been neglecting, the meaningful work you keep putting off suddenly feel pressing in the right way. Grief and mourning remind us that this life is finite, that every person in it has a limited number of days, and that how we spend those days, whether in genuine connection, meaningful work, and honest living, or in distraction, avoidance, and the endless pursuit of comfort, is a choice we are making right now. Don't wait for a funeral to remember what actually matters. Let the awareness of mortality sharpen the way you live today. And finally, Lesson 25. And I think this is the one Solomon has been building toward the entire time. I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live, that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of Godbot. Ecclesiastes 3:12-13. After everything, after all the searching, all the testing, all the honest reckoning with vanity and injustice and uncertainty, this is where Solomon lands. Be happy, do good, eat, drink, work, rest, and find genuine satisfaction in the ordinary sacred moments of your one life. This is not a consolation prize. This is the destination, the deep joy that doesn't require everything to be perfect, the contentment that isn't passive resignation but an active, grateful choosing of the life you have that is the gift, and it only really becomes available to you when you stop trying to earn it through accumulation and achievement, and start receiving it through presence and reverence. So here's how we wrap this up. The book of Ecclesiastes is not a pessimistic book. I know it can read that way at first. All is vanity. Everything passes. Nobody remembers anything. But what Solomon is actually doing is clearing the ground. He's stripping away everything that doesn't hold the false promises, the hollow pursuits, the ego-driven goals, so that what actually matters can stand clearly. Fear God, keep His commandments, but with wisdom, and with humility, with generosity, with patience. Do your work with full effort. Hold the future with open hands. Receive joy as a gift rather than something you manufacture. Stay faithful even when faithfulness isn't immediately rewarded. Let grief teach you. Let wise rebukes shape you. Plant even when you can't see the outcome. And finish well. Those aren't just ancient religious instructions. They are the distilled wisdom of someone who had access to everything the world could offer and chose, in the end, to point us back to what was true all along. May these lessons not just be ideas we find interesting. May they be seeds that actually take root in how we treat people, in how we make decisions, in how we measure a life well lived. Because at the end of the day, that's what wisdom is for. Not just to know, but to become.